the school beauty once announced that whoever scored higher than her would be their girlfriend. So scared, I circled answer 4 in the monthly test, thinking I could escape this time. Unexpectedly, the exit score was the lowest in the school. I was so scared that I had to pack my luggage that night and intend to escape. Who is the school beauty queen? She is the eldest lady of Tianmuk Group, an investor of MD University. If you get noticed by this Miss Bang's son, it will definitely not end well. But I miscalculated. Before I could run out of the dormitory door, her bodyguard stopped me like a bonchong. From then on, you have to live painful days. During the day, the socks are black, the socks are white, and at night, the socks come out and drip. At this moment, Nin Dao's eyes were as cold as ice. With her sharp little fangs, she bit my lip right away. The taste of blood melted in my mouth. I couldn't stop struggling, but I was tied so tightly that I had no chance of escaping. This scene lasted for 2.5 minutes, until I gave up resisting. Nin Dao coldly sneered, "No one has ever dared to let me climb a tree." "Lam Hai, you're very good, but the more you resist, the more interested I become." As for the audience, before continuing to watch the video, please click like and comment to support the channel. If you find it interesting, you can highlight it for me to help me create more interesting content. Thank you very much everyone. I sat on the corner of the bed, cursing loudly. "Hey, did you get drunk? This is the male dormitory, isn't that just taking away your first class? Next time I'll give it to you, okay?" Hearing that, Nin Dao's face became even more gloomy. "You say you give it up to me? You're saying I'm not as good as you." She was cold, staring at me, as if she wanted to see through me. I suddenly felt guilty and wanted to refute, but the 3 bodyguards were glaring at me. Who wouldn't be afraid? Knowing that, I wouldn't have fallen asleep. Now it's good, getting the highest score but hurting myself. Nin Jia clapped his hands and ordered the bodyguard, 5 minutes, I want to see him downstairs in the south dormitory building. A red Bakduk car was parked there, painted glossy, showing its luxury value. The inside of the car compartment is luxuriously decorated. Nin Dao crossed her long legs and looked at the clock, 1 minute left. Right after that, I was thrown inside, sprawled at Nin Dao's feet. Nin Dao looked down at me from above, then lifted his foot and stepped on my head, smirking. "Are you satisfied with this treatment?" I thought to myself, what a pervert, young lady. What exactly do you like about me? I guarantee you just tell me, I will definitely fix it. Just don't be with me anymore. Nin Dao was a little angry, looking at me with dangerous eyes. It seemed like if I dared to say no, she would rush in and tear me apart. I frowned. "Then why do you want to be with me? You know, before yesterday we had never even talked to each other." Nin Jia suddenly laughed. "Let's make a deal. I like to be with people who share the same excellent fire. Right now, you are reluctantly considered one. As long as you take the position of my boyfriend by my side in the future, I can give you glory and wealth that you can't imagine. How about it? This deal is very profitable, right?" In Nin Dao's eyes, as long as they are not idiots, anyone will agree to this transaction. After all, she is the beauty queen of MD University, comes from a noble background, and has a young lady like her as her girlfriend. How many men would refuse? But almost without thinking, I flatly refused. Nin Dao was very upset. The reason I said, first, you are not my type at all. Second, I have no interest in the so-called glory and wealth in your mouth. I have no desire for anything. As long as I live a good life, it's enough. A lot of money is just a waste. Third child, I looked at Nin Dao, my eyes showed a bit of disgust. I'm not interested in kindergarten games. Isn't what you want is a childish love game? I'm too lazy to serve. This time, not only Nin Dao was stunned, but even the driver who was focusing on driving in front couldn't help but look in the rearview mirror, thinking, "Kid, you're still too immature." Sure enough, right after that, the smile on Nin Dao's face disappeared. He didn't pay any attention to me anymore and turned to order the driver to go directly to the villa. At this point I was a bit panicked. Is she going to kidnap me and take me home and torture her? Let me down, don't be too much. I'm the champion of the double-shaped bead protection fist, earned by Bone Claw, and have been practicing for decades. Before I could finish my sentence, I was knocked unconscious by Nin Dao with a C attack. When I woke up, I found my limbs chained to the four corners of the bed, unable to struggle. Damn. That crazy girl. What do you want? At this moment, the door to the room quietly opened. White steam rises, accompanied by a seductive scent. I turned my head, my face turned red. I couldn't help it. I closed my eyes and shouted, "You're crazy." Nin Dao stepped out of the bathroom. Her hair was wet. More importantly, she was only wearing a thin white shirt, revealing her bare shoulders as she walked towards the bed. Because he had just finished showering, his shirt was soaked with water, revealing his body curves, and his white skin was almost completely exposed. Nin Dao saw a blush flash across my face, the corner of her mouth curled up, standing on the bed looking at me provocatively. I closed my eyes tightly, my voice trembling. I warn you, even if you have my body, you will never have my soul. What do you want to do? Can you let me go? Nin Dao stood on the bed, barefoot. Didn't you say I was playing childish games? Now I will tell you whether I am playing childish games or not. Having said that, she sat on my stomach, her hands cupping my eyes, her red lips covering mine. The fragrant tongue quickly separated my teeth. I opened my eyes wide, panting. The only sound left in the room was the panting of the two people. Nin Dao let go of his hand and looked at me smugly. Do you still think I'm playing childish games now? In my mouth, it was all Nin Dao's taste. Clear fluid flowed from the corner of my mouth. I glared back at Nin Dao and sneered, "What a stubborn thing." Then, leaving my horrified eyes, Nin Dao asked again, "Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Don't. Got it." An hour later, my nose was bleeding, and I finally couldn't stand it anymore. Seeing that, Nin Dao smiled with satisfaction. Indeed, dealing with this type of stubborn person must use stronger measures. So have you agreed to be my boyfriend? A clack sound rang out, and my blind limbs were finally free. I stared at this woman, gritting my teeth. You just wait, crazy woman. This fall, if you don't tell me, then you're not human. Nin Dao looked at me, walked slowly behind, and said coldly, "I think I need to teach you a little more. What do you think?" I used my strength, quickly walked faster, and jumped into the car. Nin Dao then nodded with satisfaction and drove to Tian Hoa Shopping Center. Tian Hoa is the largest commercial center in Mdu, also the property of Nin Dao's Tian Muk Group. Because it's the weekend, there are a lot of people going to the mall. Most go in groups. The shopping center was quite crowded. Nin Dao's appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. Attracting a lot of attention, becoming the focus of the entire lobby, her eyes were cold, staring at me. I was walking ahead when I suddenly felt a cold feeling down my spine. Turning around, I saw Nin Jiao standing still, with no intention of continuing. I obediently turned back. Nin Jiao glared at me. What is our relationship now? I was a little hesitant, uncertain. Friend, boyfriend, girlfriend. Just a slight hesitation made Nin Jiao's mood even worse. She said coldly, "Turn your back." Even though I didn't know why, I still obediently followed. If I don't do it, then only will I know if this woman will give me a slap in the face in a crowded place or not. After I turned my back, Nin Jiao lifted his white sneaker and landed hard on my butt. Ah! I was completely caught off guard and kicked it more than 2 meters away. This kick is because you still don't consider me your girlfriend, so I'm very unhappy. I grumbled, we've only known each other for less than 2 days. It's strange to think of you as my new girlfriend. Looking at the people around me gradually dispersing, my eyes rolled around and a light flashed in my head. It's not at the villa now, it's entirely possible to take this opportunity to run away. Although this woman is strong, she is a girl after all, her running speed is definitely not as fast as me. But first you have to catch her off guard. Anyway, there are still a few bodyguards behind me, I'm not confident that I can escape from them. Thinking that, the angry expression on my face disappeared, replaced by a sincere smile. I walked over, grabbed Nin Jiao's hand, and smiled. I just didn't understand. We haven't known each other long, sir, please forgive me this time. The dissatisfaction in Nin Jiao's heart eased a little. I know that. I'll forgive you this time. Having said that, the two held hands and walked into the shopping center. In the eyes of outsiders, this is a young couple in passionate love. I was about to find an excuse to go to the bathroom to escape when Nin Jiao pulled me straight into a watch store. A half-bearded manager wearing a black dress walked over and respectfully said to Nin Jiao, "Miss Nin, do you need something?" Nin Jiao let go of my hand and said coldly, "Find him a suitable watch, the best one." I was stunned. This isn't very good. What's wrong with a poor student wearing such an expensive watch? You must know that my monthly living expenses are only 2,000 or 3,000 yuan. Don't say I use it, I've never seen these luxury items before. Nin Jiao calmly said, "You are my boyfriend now. The whole person's clothes combined cost less than 500 yuan. If you don't feel embarrassed, then I also feel embarrassed." She had already said that. I didn't feel like saying anything more, so I nodded. The manager immediately took out the 3 newest limited edition watches, all newly arrived from our branch, all limited edition. Which model do you like? These 3 R.L watches look very expensive. I couldn't help but glance at Nin Jiao next to me. Why are you looking at me? Quickly choose one, or take them all. Hearing that, I immediately chose the one in the middle, which didn't look too ostentatious. Inwardly smiling, he picked up the remaining 2. Yes, no problem. The total price of this watch is 38 million. How much? Hearing this number, my hands trembled and I almost dropped the watch. My God, just one watch sold for nearly 40 million, bank robbery? But Nin Jiao didn't blink and took a black card and handed it over. So my personal value jumped from 500 yuan to nearly 40 million. Nin Jiao leaned close to my ear, his voice as sweet as honey. "Now that I have a clock, if you dare to be late for a date in the future, I guarantee I will make you regret it for the rest of your life." The corner of my mouth twitched. Turns out he bought me such an expensive watch just so I wouldn't be late for a date. It must be said that rich people are arbitrary. To quickly get out of here, I pointed to the milk tea shop in the distance. "Can I invite you to drink milk tea?" Nin Jiao glanced at the milk tea shop. She rarely drinks this popular drink, but since this was the first time I offered it to her, she reluctantly agreed. "Okay, it's up to you." Hearing that, I happily led her over. There are quite a few people queuing. Nin Jiao sat waiting on a chair outside the store, and I went to line up to buy milk tea. Taking this opportunity, I quietly observed my surroundings to determine an escape route. I randomly ordered 2 cups of milk tea. The amount of money in my pocket immediately decreased by 40 yuan. I gave 1 cup to Nin Jiao and then I drank the other cup myself. Nin Jiao looked at the cup of milk tea in his hand, then looked at the cup of milk tea I was finishing drinking. Then grabbed my cup. "I'll drink this cup." I pouted and walked for a while longer. Seeing that the time was ripe, I pretended to be calm. "I'm going to the bathroom for a moment. Will you wait for me here?" Min Zhao nodded without any doubt. I was secretly happy and ran straight to the bathroom. Finally got rid of this witch. Entering the bathroom, I quickly ran to the ventilation window and looked down. Currently on the second floor of the shopping center. This height is still bearable with my physical condition. Grabbing the curtains, I climbed onto the windowsill, looked at the grass below, and jumped down. Aha! I'm here for free! Thud, thud, I landed perfectly on the grass. Turning my head to look back at the second floor, I sneered, "Do you want to keep me? Just play childish games there yourself." Having finished speaking, I ran straight out of the shopping center without looking back. On his face, a youthful smile filled with hope for the future. At this moment, a yellow and white taxi came from afar. I instinctively got into the car and started driving as quickly as possible. Go to college, tissue. However, after the car door closed, the smile on my face faded and stiffened. Looking at the man in black sitting in the car and Ningu with a cold expression on his face, "Aunt, why are you here?" I was almost about to cry. It's not according to my plan, so perfect, how could it be discovered? Surely something is not right. Ningu sat in the car, smiling coldly at me. "You're such a good runner. Did I tell you? You were so docile when you entered the mall, but it turned out you were planning to run away. At this point, I don't even bother pretending anymore. Yes, that's what I think. What can you do to me? If you have the courage, kill me." I glared at this woman, not showing any weakness. But a sinister look appeared on Nindao's face. "Okay, if you want to die so much then I will pay for you." Nindao ordered the driver to find a secluded place to bury this guy. My body trembled uncontrollably, but I still tried to remain calm. Secretly took out his phone and sent a text message. At the same time, at dormitory 312 of M University, Lai Luang was engrossed in playing games when his phone vibrated. The message appeared, "Dear brother, help me, I'm making a hard, crying city." There is also location sharing below, which in real time shows my current location and is constantly moving towards the suburbs. Lai Luang looked at the text message asking for help on his phone and then looked at the game that had started, with an angry look on his face. Then, he slapped himself. I'm such a bastard, I'm still hesitant between boys and games. Having finished speaking, he took the car key and rushed out of the dormitory. Half an hour later, in a deserted mountain outside the suburb, 3 bodyguards and the driver were hastily digging a hole. I was blinded and thrown aside, my eyes filled with fear. I looked at Nindao sitting in the car with an expression of disbelief. Damn, really, but is there time to regret it now? As time passed, a 2 m deep hole was quickly dug, just burying the person and it could be filled immediately. Seeing that, Nindao also got out of the car, his white shoes were covered in mud. She squatted down and removed the cloth gag from my mouth. Do you have any more banana quotes? Although I won't help you complete them, it's still okay to listen to them. I looked at Nindao with a pitiful expression. This time I really know my mistake. Please forgive me this time. Nindao tilted her head, her eyes cold. You clearly know your mistake? But I gave you a chance, but you don't know how to appreciate it. I started to panic, I fell to the ground, my face was completely distorted. Please give me another chance. I will definitely cherish it. My husband is of no use to you. How about giving me another chance? Nindao looked at me with dark eyes, seemingly thinking about whether to give me another chance or not. At this moment, a small motorbike came from afar. Lai Luong, driving a car in one hand, held a shiny machete in the other. "Don't be afraid, son, Dad is here to save you." Seeing Lai Luong suddenly appear, my face changed. As if I had support in my heart, I laughed out loud. "Haha, big brother, I really didn't misread you. Come quickly and take off the glare for me." Min Dao glanced at the bodyguards standing next to him. They understood and immediately blocked Lai Luong's path. About 2 minutes later, Min Dao calmly squatted in front of me and Lai Luong. "Break the toy knife in your hand." "Let go." The knife fell to the ground. The corners of my mouth twitched, looking at Lai Luong. I was also stunned and depressed. "Green Tendon Pot, I told you to come save me, but you brought a toy knife to offer to someone?" Min Dao looked at me with interest. "Now your patient is here to keep you company. If you have any other tricks, just use them." "There are no more tricks, this time it's really over." Lai Luong trembled, seeing that he was about to be buried alive. He quickly advised me. "Follow me, just agree. Miss Nin is both beautiful and rich, there is no chance for others to want it." "No way. I'm a 7-foot man, you tell me to play childish games with a woman? I tell you, it's impossible." Min Dao completely lost patience, stood up and gave orders. "Bury it." Having finished speaking, she turned and walked towards the car without hesitation. "Damn, are you stupid?" Lai Luong shouted at me dissatisfiedly. "You can't pretend to agree first. Wait until you get out and then move on." Looking at the two bodyguards approaching, I began to panic. Is my brother Min's whole life going to end with being buried alive in this damn ravine? Quick, agree! I'm young, I don't want to die. My Wii browsing history hasn't been deleted yet. I even invited Tara to download my entire account. Seeing that Nin Dao had opened the car door, I finally couldn't hold back any longer and shouted loudly, "Sister, I was wrong." However, Nin Dao did not react at all, just opened the car door, quietly turned his back to us as if waiting for something. I suddenly had an idea and shouted again, "Wife, I was wrong." Hearing that, Nin Dao smiled, turned around, and laughed brightly. "Give it to them, they'll put it in the car." Lai Luong and I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Not long after, I was thrown into the car, and poor Lai Luong had to drive the motorbike himself. Everyone returned to the car and slowly started it. The car door was locked. I was pressed against the window by Nin Dao, tremblingly asked, "What do you want to do?" Nin Dao wrapped her arms around my neck, sat on me, her voice was gentle. "Kiss me." Without hesitation, I shook my head and refused. Boys must know how to protect themselves when they go out. Nin Dao's face was gloomy, one hand strangled me. "Have you misunderstood something? I'm giving you orders, not negotiating with you." My face turned red. I kiss, okay?" Nin Dao leaned against me again, her gentle voice returned. "Oh my, kiss me, baby." Having no other choice, I hugged Nin Dao's soft waist, bowed my head and kissed her red lips. Just touching it lightly, the phoenix was held tightly by her. My head turned upside down, I widened my eyes, wanting to push this woman away, but no matter how hard I tried, I was powerless. I had to grit my teeth to not let her tongue enter. Nin Dao attacked me several times without success, then punched me hard in the stomach. I instinctively. Nin Dao took this opportunity to attack me, speechless, completely losing his innocence. A long while after the car drove into the inner city, Nin Dao pressed her face against my heaving chest. "This time, I hope you learn from experience. In the future, whatever I tell you to do, you must do it." Don't have any intention of opposing me, do you hear? I remained silent, did not speak, could only helplessly let Nin Dao sit on my lap. I'm no longer pure. Finally, the car stopped at the gate of Mdu University. Nin Dao calmly said, "Give me the phone." I pouted, took the phone and gave it to her. Not long after, Nin Dao returned the phone, which had an additional phone number saved as Nin Dao's wife. Crossing her arms, she warned, "If you dare not answer when I call later, just wait." Before leaving, she didn't forget to glance at me with threatening eyes. "Wife? We can't stand this feud. Should we find an opportunity to get revenge?" Lai Luong, who was watching an adult movie, didn't even turn around and laughed. "That's someone else's eldest lady. Do you dare think like that? You're lucky she didn't cause trouble with you. Do you still want to cause trouble with her?" I swallowed this anger. I was almost buried alive. "If you don't report this fall, you're not a gentleman. As long as you help me, I'll give you my demon collection. How about it?" Lai Luong's eyes lit up. "Are you serious? Give it to me so easily? Less nonsense. Do you do it or don't you do it?" Lai Luong turned off the movie and sat next to the bed. "What are you planning to do?" Actually, he also wanted revenge, but Nin Dao's power was too great, he didn't know where to start. I secretly took out a yellow saddlebag from under the bed, a sinister smile on my face. "Damn it, where did you get this saddlebag?" "Then don't worry. I don't believe those bodyguards will always be by her side. They only have strength. When the time comes, the two of us will go up together. Are you afraid we won't be able to defeat her?" Lai Luong's eyes also lit up. "Okay, let's decide. When will we act? Tonight? At that time, I'll ask her out. As long as she doesn't bring a bodyguard, won't she just let us tear her apart?" Suspicious of Nin Dao's domineering personality, if she was hit in the head with a saddlebag, I don't know what her face would look like. Thinking about this, I couldn't help but smirk. Late at night, Nin Dao was bathing in the villa when he received my phone call. She was a bit surprised by my personality but took the initiative to call her. "I want to talk to you. Can you come out and see me for a moment?" Nin Dao's eyes lit up. "What? So you want to talk about our future?" I didn't object to avoid being exposed, and said directly, "Wait for me at the shore of Ton Tam Lake, I'll come alone." After speaking, he hung up the phone. "Are you shy anymore?" Nin Dao smiled, saved the call log, then quickly changed clothes and went out, her face full of anticipation. Half an hour later, by Ton Tam Lake, Lai Luong covered his head with a black scarf, next to a yellow saddlebag. He was a little scared and asked, "Is this really okay? If anything goes wrong, we'll both be dead." I patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, she is so infatuated with me. She will definitely come." At this moment, a car drove straight towards this direction from afar. Damn, came so fast? Lai Luong did not dare to hesitate and crawled into the wooden house next door. The red car stopped in front of me. Nin Dao walked out, quickly hugged me, his whole body glued to me. "Baby, I miss you so much." Why didn't I expect her to be so intimate? I blushed. "Yes, I miss you," and at the same time signaled Lai Luong, who was hiding in the wooden house. Then I pulled Nin Dao to sit on the chair. "I just want to know, what exactly do you like about me?" Nin Dao looked towards the wooden house, smiled and said, "Of course I like everything." To attract Nin Dao's attention, I became serious. "I like you too." Hearing that, Nin Dao was stunned. Lai Luong quietly came behind, took the saddlebag, and covered Nin Dao's head. I also smiled sinisterly, already starting to imagine how I should take revenge for the previous battles. Who would have thought that Nin Dao would have predicted it? Standing up, took 2 steps forward, causing Lai Luong to jump and miss. His face immediately turned cold. I said, "Why did you suddenly ask me out?" It turned out to be revenge. Lai Luong and I looked at each other and then rushed forward. There's no turning back now, we must defeat this woman tonight. Nin Dao laughed coldly. A few minutes later, Lai Luong and I were face-tied. We fell to the ground, our clothes were torn. We began to beg, "We were wrong, please forgive us. This is all plotted by Lam Hai, it has nothing to do with me." Lai Luong, with his panda eyes, sold me out without hesitation. I'm no better, people claim it in several places. "Wife, I'm really wrong, please forgive me." Nin Dao threw the saddlebag on the ground in front of me. "Get in yourself." I was a bit hesitant, this was originally prepared for Nin Dao, but now I'm hurting myself, can I not escape? Nin Dao took out a small knife and threw it on the ground. "Die on the floor or go into the saddlebag, choose yourself." Forced, I picked up my saddlebag and climbed in. Lai Luong also kindly gave me a string, smiling sinisterly, "Sister, using this is very sturdy." I silently cursed him 100 times, but in my pocket I cursed Nin Dao 200 times. After tying the bag tightly, Nin Dao picked up the saddlebag and walked towards the car. So the hostage kidnapping case is over. The red boat rushed away from the lake shore. Lai Luong stood quietly in place, silently mourning. "Go in peace, brother, I will take your collection of ghosts." The red car slowly stopped in front of the yard of a villa. 2 bodyguards immediately walked forward respectfully and opened the car door. Nin Dao stepped down from the driver's seat with a cold face and coldly said to the 2 bodyguards, "Clean him up and take him to my room." After speaking, he went upstairs. Bedroom on the 2nd floor of the villa. Nin Dao sat on the bed, held it on her knees, bowed her head, looked at her white legs, not knowing what she was thinking. This scene looks a bit dreary. Sitting alone on the bed alone. For the past 20 years she has lived like that, living an aimless life, nothing special. So she always wants to win everything, but those things are not what she wants. Life has a predictable outcome, other than being boring, there's nothing else. Until she was easily surpassed in her studies by me. While thinking, there was a knock on the door. Next was my scream, "Let me go, I'm learning Wing Chun, be careful, I'll hit you with my ultimate move. You guys." The door opened and 2 bodyguards carried me in. Nin Dao regained consciousness and calmly said, "Throw him on the bed." The bodyguards respectfully threw me on the bed and then silently left. I regained my freedom and looked in front of Nin Dao. "I don't dare lie down." Nin Dao crossed her legs and looked at me with calm eyes. "Calm down, I'm not in good shape. Tonight you'd best be a little more obedient, otherwise, I can't guarantee I'll be gentle." Having finished speaking, she lifted the blanket herself, lay on the bed, and tilted her body as if she were asleep. My eyes rolled around, waited for about half an hour, then quietly got out of bed, intending to take this opportunity to escape. But as soon as I touched the doorknob, I heard Nin Jiao with his back to me on the bed and said, "If you don't go to bed in 5 minutes, you will know what cruelty is." Hearing that, my hands shook, finally sighed, and obediently turned back. Hesitating for a moment, I lifted the blanket and crawled in. Unexpectedly, as soon as I closed my eyes, I immediately felt a warm body hugging me tightly, one leg wrapped around me like a teddy bear. I lay still on the bed, not daring to move, wanting to cry but no tears came out. Nin Jiao closed his eyes, pressed close to my back, inhaled the fresh scent of my body, seemingly very attached. I don't know how long it took, but the sound of steady breathing was heard from behind. I also gradually closed my eyes, not knowing when I fell asleep. Opening my eyes, It was the next morning, the side was empty, but there was still warmth somewhere. The bed has a set of men's clothes. Just by looking at the material, you can tell that the value is not small. Downstairs, Nin Jiao is having breakfast. She looked at the clock. It's almost time, but that lazy guy still hasn't woken up. Just as I was about to go upstairs to teach me a lesson, I yawned as I went down. The maid quickly pulled out the chair. I sat down a bit awkwardly in front of Nin Jiao. This is the first time I have received such high-class treatment. The maid quickly brought a portion of steak decorated with 2 cherry tomatoes, next to a glass of milk. Nin Jiao put down the knife and fork, wiped his mouth with a napkin, then leaned on his hands and stared at me. After what happened last night, I am no longer afraid of Nin Jiao. Anyway, I'm already asleep, so there's nothing to be afraid of. At this time, I saw that more than half of the steak on Nin Jiao's plate was left over. I asked curiously, "You eat so little? Why don't you have any appetite?" Nin Jiao answered blandly, still staring at me. I cut a piece of steak and put it in my mouth. It didn't taste very good when I chewed it. "I'm not used to eating this steak, can I make it myself?" When I said I knew how to cook, Nin Jiao showed interest, of course. I carried the plate of steak into the kitchen. Then, under the chef's surprised eyes, I expertly turned the steak into stir-fried beef with onions. Returning to the dining table, I began to eat each piece as it looked delicious. Nin Jiao smelled the fragrance, swallowed his saliva and grabbed the plate of food in my hand. "What are you doing? Aren't you full?" Nin Jiao paid no attention to me, directly used my fork to skewer a piece of beef into his mouth, and chewed it a few times. Her eyes lit up in surprise. "The taste is good. I didn't expect this guy to be skilled." Then, under my glare, Nin Jiao finished the entire plate, leaving behind the onions, then returned the plate to me with satisfaction. I really couldn't help it anymore. "You're too much. You just didn't finish your sentence." Nin Jiao glanced at me with threatening eyes. I had to keep my mouth shut and go back to the kitchen to make another plate. Just like that, I spent an entire weekend being tortured. Nin Jiao held my hand and walked towards the teaching building. The Gabans on the street both envied and pitied me. I said softly, "I already asked for reservations, or should I go to class by myself?" Nin Jiao seemed to think of something, turned his head to look at me, his voice calm. "You got the highest score in the monthly exam to ask for a reservation?" "It's still true. I've mostly finished the university program. I feel so bored every day." Nin Jiao glanced at me, "Then go back to the dormitory and prepare your things. This afternoon it will be sent to where I live." When I heard that, I panicked. Now she has always wanted to teach me. If I move in with them, I don't know how much suffering I will have to endure. No, absolutely not. We've just met each other and are already living together. It's moving too fast. Maybe we should wait a little longer. Nin Jiao looked at me for a moment, but did not force me. Even though in her heart she also liked me a little, after all, this was the first guy that had interested her in many years, so Nin Jiao was very patient. "That's okay. After school, I will call you. If you dare not answer the phone, you will surely die." After Nin Jiao finished giving instructions, he walked towards the teaching building, thinking about whether he should ask for a reservation or not. I returned to the dormitory and prepared my things for the climbing trip with Tan Hai tomorrow. Thinking about not having to see Nin Jiao's cold face in the next 3 days, the corner of my mouth couldn't help but curl up. Me, Tan Hai and Lai Luong are all members of the camping club. Of course there are also 2 honorary members, who are close friends of Tan Hai. At this time, Lai Luong was also packing his luggage. He definitely won't miss this climbing thing. I casually asked, "What time is it tomorrow morning?" "Didn't Tanhai tell you?" "Not a ticket tomorrow morning, but a high-speed train ticket, 12 o'clock tonight, just in time to arrive tomorrow morning." Hearing that, I was secretly happy. The faster the better. The next day, at the Tien Van Villa area, Nin Zhao looked at the steak in front of him and felt it was bland, not as delicious as the stir-fried beef with onions I made. Moreover, eating alone makes you feel even more bored. It's true that we have to bring that guy back. Otherwise, I'll always feel uneasy. Thinking that, Nin Zhao immediately took out his phone to call me. But right after that, her face immediately darkened. "The subscriber you dialed is currently busy, please call back later." Her call was immediately disconnected, the bell didn't have time to ring. What does this say? Nin Zhao slammed his fist on the table, his expression so gloomy that water dripped out. "Very good, Lam Hai. You're so big, you dare to put me on the blacklist. It's true that men must be taught properly." Nin Zhao immediately lost all appetite, took his coat and walked out of the villa, his face gloomy like the color of rain. "Lin Hai, you're very good. You already have a girlfriend, but you still dare to go hiking with another woman, and you don't even say a word to me." Her heart was like a volcano erupting, wishing she could immediately teach me a lesson. Near noon, after a long climb, Tanhai and Lai Luong finally reached the top of Naksan Mountain. Looking at the misty scene below, Tanhai spread her arms wide and took a deep breath. "Lam Hai, we've known each other for nearly 5 years, right?" "Almost the same. What's wrong?" I curiously turned my head to look at her. Tanhai closed her eyes, took a deep breath, then opened her eyes, looked at me with serious eyes, mustered up the courage to say, "Lam Hai, actually I." At that moment, the rumble of the plane's propeller suddenly rang out, the loud sound echoed in everyone's ears, causing everyone to stop. Tanhai's words had not yet come out. Hai also stopped and looked towards the source of the sound. A newest helicopter was flying into the air, finally stopping right in front of me and Tanhai. I suddenly woke up, my face changed dramatically. Damn, not good. Sure enough, right after that, the helicopter compartment door opened. Nin Dao's face was cold, her hands jumped down, her eyes quickly locked on me and Tanhai who were standing next to me. "Very well, as expected, go out and find a girl, let's see how I handle you." I immediately ran down the mountain, and in the blink of an eye I could no longer see him. Are you kidding? If she caught me now, I would die. Do you still dare to run? Nin Dao glared and chased after me, his speed not inferior to me. I was running for my life, everyone gasped at this ridiculous scene. "Lam Hai, if you have, then stop for me." At this point, I started panting and turned around. Why don't I run? Stop chasing me. It took all morning to climb to the top of the mountain, but it only took me half an hour to get down. I saw the ticket counter at the gate not far ahead and turned around to look back. There was no sign of the red woman anywhere. Finally got rid of her. But before I could be happy, several bodyguards dressed in black suddenly burst out from the ticket counter. "Fuck you, play dirty." Soon I was carried back by a bodyguard and locked into a black BMW. There were several bodyguards around the car. "Miss, young Master Lam has been put in the car." Nin Dao took a sip of water, walked straight to the car and opened the car door. Just when I saw that I was about to secretly open the door and saw Nin Dao's gloomy face, I scratched my head and laughed. What a coincidence, you also came to climb the mountain. Nin Dao was so angry that he burst out laughing, his eyes flashing fiercely. She sat in the car and slammed the door. Not long after, my pitiful screams rang out in the car, accompanied by my begging for forgiveness. Once I hit you in the face, I just wanted to take advantage of the holiday to go out and relax a bit, but I accidentally put you on the blacklist. Min Dao's face turned black. He stepped on my chest, holding me down. Who is the woman just sitting with you? I said tremblingly, that's just my friend, it's really not what you think. The force in Min Dao's jade feet is getting stronger and stronger. Are you sure? If you dare to joke with me, I will throw you into the sea to feed the fish right now. Really, how dare you lie to me? I was in so much pain that I broke out in a cold sweat and quickly nodded. Min Dao stared into my eyes for a long time before letting go of her legs and lying down on the chair. Lowered the window and coldly ordered the bodyguards outside. Drive back to Tissue. Several cars left one by one. Tan Hai and Lai Luang arrived late, only having time to see the rear of the car on the highway. I'm using a band-aid to cover the wound. This woman's actions are so cruel, she doesn't lift her hands at all. Min Dao suddenly leaned against me, inhaling my scent. Her heart seemed to calm down. She pressed her face to my chest and said softly, "Hug me." I was helpless, so I took off the band-aid and gently hugged Min Dao lying in my arms. I could smell the faint scent of her body, and my mouth couldn't help but dry out. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the bottle of mineral water that Min Dao conveniently threw aside when getting into the car. There's still more than half left in the bottle. I took it and was about to tilt my head back to drink when Min Dao grabbed it. She raised her chin and asked, "What's wrong, is it difficult?" I could only nod, for this witch, I had no choice. Min Dao sat up slightly, shook the mineral water bottle in her hand, then took a big gulp, holding it in her mouth without swallowing. She looked at me with provocative eyes, pointing to her red lips. The meaning was very clear: if you want to drink water, you have to take it from her mouth. I shook my head. Okay, just drink. Hearing that, Min Dao's face immediately turned cold. Swallowing the saliva in her mouth, she threatened, "If you don't drink now, I guarantee you won't be able to drink a drop of water within 3 days." After speaking, she took another big gulp of water, held it in her mouth, opened the window, and threw the water bottle out. A moment later, the atmosphere in the car became quiet. Just as Min Dao was about to swallow that mouthful of water, I finally took action. I kissed Min Dao on the lips, taking all the water in her mouth. My face was a little red and I instinctively looked out the window. But how could Min Dao let me go so easily? She kissed again following the movement. Even with her strength, I couldn't help but react. A beauty like Min Dao lying in my arms, that in itself is seductive enough, not to mention she forcefully kissed me like that. Min Dao felt the heat underneath, looking at me with provocative eyes. "Can't you stand it so fast? Do you need my help?" "No need." I stubbornly turned my face out the window, not daring to look directly into her burning eyes. But this is not for me to decide. Min Dao leaned closer to me again and asked softly, "Is it really necessary? This is only a one-time opportunity." My breathing was rapid. I quickly bit my tongue to stay awake. But Min Dao grabbed my hand and slowly put it inside her skirt. What are you doing?" I was startled by this sudden bold action of hers. How can this be so arbitrary? I quickly withdrew my hand. Min Dao snorted softly, leaning softly against me. I swallowed widely, hoarsely, "You'll regret it." "Regret?" Min Dao raised her head slightly, looked at me with passionate eyes, then kissed me. She wanted to use her actions to tell me, "Min Dao, she has never regretted it."